Believe it or not, we finished with the toughest part of our pie. It's all downhill from here. Here's a little added hint for your pie crust. To make sure it doesn't stick to your baking table, make sure you have enough flour underneath, okay? Make sure there's plenty of flour, and that way it'll peel right away. So now we're going to move on to our apples. And I'm actually have a mixture today. I have Rome, I have Gala, and I have Fuji. And so I'm just going to go over some basic apple peeling tips. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start at the top like this, and I'm going to cut around in a circle. Now, if you're really good at this, you can actually do it in one continuous peel. This is a really great time of year to make apple pie because it's apple season, and apple pie was always a favorite at my house growing up, though Papa Larkin's favorite pie, of course, was cherry. Oops, okay, not a single peel for me on this one. So I'm going to continue cutting this around, and just about done here. So I've got all the peel off, and I'm going to go ahead and cut it in half, and then I'm going to cut it in quarters. I'll go ahead and cut away the core part, and then I'm going to slice into very thin slices into the bowl I'm going to use for the apple mixture. Okay, and I'm going to show you how thin my slices are. We want them nice and thin so that they will cook really fast. So go ahead, peel and core all of your apples, slice them up, and put them into your bowl, and then we'll move on to our next step. Next part, I have a confession to make. I've never actually measured the ingredients that I put into my apples. So I just kind of add things and go, oh, that looks enough, and it always turns out good. Today, for your benefit, I'm going to actually try to measure them out so you know how much to add. We're going to start with the flour, and the flour is going to help your mixture kind of hold together. That way it's not too runny. So let's add 3 tablespoons of flour, and that's just kind of a thickener. And then we're going to add sugar, and for the white sugar, I want you to add 3/4 cups of white sugar. Okay, and then we're going to add the cinnamon, and let's go ahead and add 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. And then with a ground nutmeg, let's add 1/2 teaspoon of that. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and mix that up. Again, this is the mixture that you're going to sprinkle over the apples and kind of stir it in. Okay, we have one final ingredient we're going to add before we sprinkle that in, and that's going to be the lemon juice. And this is going to give your apples kind of a lovely zest. So what I want you to do is add 1 tablespoon of lemon juice, mix that in, and then mix in your ingredients from here into your apples. Then I'll show you how mine looks. Okay, so I've added all the ingredients into my apples, and it looks like this. All the slices are evenly coated, and now I'm adding it to my pie plate, which I've already lined with my bottom layer of my pie crust. So this is what it looks like, just like that. Now, some people like to put a little butter in with their apple pie. I don't do that. That's something that you can try if that sounds like something that you might be interested in. Okay, so now we're ready to do our top crust. So what I've done is I have my top crust that we went ahead and rolled out and we cut our design into. And I have it over top of my rolling pin. And I'm going to go ahead and just kind of roll it across the top and position it into place. And then I'll show you how mine looks. Okay, so I have my top crust onto my pie. I'm going to take my paring knife, or you can use a table knife if you're a little skittish, and I'm going to trim around this about 1/4 inch all the way around. In a later recipe, I'm going to teach you how to make pie crust cookies, and that's what you're going to do with the pie crust that you have left over. It's a really easy recipe and really delicious. And it was always you guys' favorite when Mommy made pie, to have pie crust cookies. Okay, so I've trimmed it all the way around, and now I'm going to do the final touch where I crimp the sides. This is what really makes the pie look yummy and delicious. I'm going to take it and I'm going to fold it under all the way around just like that. I'm just going to kind of tuck it in all the way around like that. And then let me show you how my fingers are. I'm going to use my 2 fingers here and my thumb, and I'm going to crimp the pie crust between them, just like this. And what that does is that gives you that nice crimped look all the way around the pie. This is what makes it look so pretty. So all the way around, between the fingers, push your thumb just like that. Doesn't it look pretty? Okay, we have one added touch that we're going to use, and what I want you to do is, remember we had an egg? I'm going to have you separate that, and we're just going to use the egg white. So I showed this to you in a previous recipe, but let me show you again how to separate your egg white. Go ahead and tap the middle of the egg with your fork, put your thumbs down in there, pull the shells apart really easily, very cleanly, and then what you're going to do is keep moving the yolk from half of the eggshell to the other half until you remove all the yolk, and you're only going to keep the egg white, okay? And use your fork and go ahead, and what you're going to do is just kind of do that really quickly until it gets nice and white and foamy, just like I'm doing here. Go ahead and do that, and then we'll be back. I've used my fork to beat my egg white. See how it's nice and white and foamy? And then what I'm going to use a pastry knife, and I'm going to paint the top of my pie crust with this egg white, just so you have nice and good coverage. What this is going to do is it's going to make your pie crust nice and brown and flaky. It's going to be really delicious. So I've gotten all of that, not too much, just make sure you have a nice even covering. You don't want to add too much, just a light dusting. And then go ahead and get some white sugar and just kind of sprinkle that across the top of your pie crust, just like that. Let me show you how that looks. Okay, we have one more thing we have to do before we put this in the oven. Because you're baking this for an hour, you have to protect the edges of your pie crust from burning. The way you're going to do that is, you're going to get your aluminum foil and go ahead and get about 3 sheets that are about this size, and then you're going to put them around the edge of your pie, and what that's going to do is that's going to protect that outside crust from burning. Go ahead and make sure the shiny side is the side that's against the pie, okay? So just like that. Now I want you to go ahead and put it in your oven, which you've preheated to 375, and I want you to set your timer for 45 minutes. When 45 minutes is up, you can go ahead and remove the foil, bake it for another 15, and then it'll be done. Then we'll see what mine looks like. So my oven timer's gone off. I pulled my pie out of the oven, and there it is. Look at that. Nice and brown and delicious. It smells wonderful. This needs to sit for about 2 hours, and then it'll be ready to eat. If you're going to eat your pie within 24 hours, you don't need to put it in the refrigerator. If you're going to have it, later than that, go ahead and cover it up and put it in the fridge. Now, Uncle Dan always says the apple pie is best chilled, so you might want to follow his advice on that. But again, let it cool on the counter for at least 2 hours before you put it in the refrigerator. So we're going to make this together when we all meet at John's house for Thanksgiving. In the meantime, know that I love you and I miss you very much. Bye-bye, boys.